Hello, everyone. Welcome to Branch Avenue in Bloom, a virtual merchants meeting. This is an experiment for us, but we've tried to pick a platform that'll be convenient for you, the small business owners, and anyone else who happens to be tuning in to access this PowerPoint and hear my voice and also ask any questions you might have. And in order to ask a question as we go through the presentation this afternoon, all you need is a Gmail account or a Google account, and you can send questions to us and we'll see them here, and then we'll attempt to answer those questions as we proceed. We'll get through as many questions as we can, but I think it's important that we get to the presentation and celebrate Branch Avenue in Bloom and the small businesses that populate Suitland and Temple Hills, many of whom are tuned in today, along with some government representatives, some Prince George's County folks, and we have a really good crew here this afternoon. So welcome. One of the first questions that I ask people when we present to them, especially small business owners, is what's different about independent business? What's different about you as a small business owner, independent, on your own, and running your own enterprise? Well, lots of times I get the answer, the buck stops here, or you're in charge of all the decisions, or everything depends on you, and indeed that's all true. But if we really think about what's different for an independent business, I like to start with this: risk. You are the risk taker. Whether you're Sam's Car Wash that's 50 years old on Route 5, whether you're a merchant that's been open in Landover Mall for a year, or whether you're an entrepreneur thinking about opening your own business, risk is the piece that falls directly on your shoulders, and in fact, that's the component that really makes a person an entrepreneur. And in addition to taking the risk, obviously, you need an operational business model. You need to have thought through your business or adjusted your business over time so that you actually have a working business model generating cash. And of course, it takes money to make money, so you have to arrange for the capitalization of that business and keep that business capitalized. Then there's the aspect of financials, keeping the books, knowing what the business is doing at any given point in time. That's a seminar in itself. Forecasting. How do I forecast what's going to be happening in my business in the future? And if you're bricks and mortar, certainly location. You've all heard the old adage, location, 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 and indeed plays a crucial role in the success of a bricks and mortar business. Lease negotiation, if you are bricks and mortar, that's an art unto itself. Permitting, licensing, and a costly build-out for bricks and mortar. So you merchants that are situated on Route 5, Branch Avenue, St. Barnabas Road, in Landover Mall, all of you know the expense and the complexity of getting your property built out. Then once it's built, it has to be attractive. You have to have curb appeal, front window appeal, signage, traffic control, pathways through the store, appropriate merchandising and display, and finally record keeping, not finally by any means, but record keeping on a day-to-day basis. It's a little bit different than doing the accounting or doing the financials and producing accurate, timely financial statements. But record keeping is a day-to-day job that everyone needs to do. You can always hire an accountant or a CPA to do your taxes and roll up your financial statements. But you as the owner and the on-site manager have to be able to keep accurate daily records. And of course, marketing, social media, and technology, probably the biggest change that's occurred certainly in the last couple of years. We were doing a seminar the other day, and I said, look how much things have changed just in the last couple months. A lady raised her hand and said, look how much it's changed in the last 2 days. The new iPhone had just come out. Long hours, that's an aspect of owning your own business that's unavoidable. How many times do you small business owners hit the sack at night, put your pillow under your head, and have your eyes pop wide open? You're always thinking. The store may be closed, but it's always open in your mind. And then staffing. Everyone knows that as soon as you hire that first employee, whether it's a friend, a relative, even a spouse, as soon as that first employee comes on board, you're into a whole different ballgame. And of course, Those are just a few of the things that are different about being an independent business. There's also all these other things. Inspections, shrinkage. Shrinkage is the unexplained disappearance of money and or merchandise. How about changing economies? Look at everything that's happened in the past 6 years since 2008. Changing traffic patterns. We're working with merchants where highway work or sewer work or new construction completely disrupts the ability of the customer to get into the store. Competition, something we're all aware of. Every time there's a new concept, there's a knockoff concept coming down the road not too far behind. Loss prevention, that's everything from safety to shrinkage and shoplifting. Point of sale systems, management information systems, information technology and technology. Taxes, yes, that's an unfortunate part of owning your own business, but that's what keeps our infrastructure going. One of the interesting things I find about small business, when I ask about what's different about small business, they say, we don't get a bailout, and that's true. Small businesses certainly pay their fair share of taxes and help support the community. E-commerce and technology, a phenomenon we'll look at in just a minute. And another important aspect of the independent business is that your personality as the owner often drives the whole atmosphere, the whole energy level, and indeed the whole concept of that business. And that makes you as the independent business owner that much more important, thereby translating into being personality driven, relationship driven. Can you create, develop, and maintain loyal customers with customer relationship management? And finally, most small business owners say the hardest thing to do is get that concept and run it 365 days a year so that every time that customer walks through the door, they experience a consistent level of service delivery, product quality, and relationship with the business owner. When you look at all this, I often find it funny when I teach a seminar about how to open a business in the state of Maryland, or how to open a restaurant, how to open a retail shop. I ask the audience, why do you want to own your own business? And a lot of times people say, oh, I want the freedom of owning my own business. And by looking at what's different about you folks and the way you do business, we can see that freedom is a relative term there. The business commands your entire attention. And in fact, that's why we went to this format today. It's very tough to get a small business owner to take the time to leave their business, provide for coverage at their business, whether it's e-commerce or bricks and mortar, and attend a meeting. But we think it's important that small business owners be aware of all the aspects that are available to them to run their business. So today, we're going to use this virtual seminar to talk about three things. Basically, some of the challenges that face you as a small business owner, the importance of gathering together and forming a business association or a merchants association that would be comprised of a number of small business owners. And then finally today, we'll end up with talking about some of the resources that are available to you as small business owners, some of which are no cost and confidential, but we'll elaborate on that in just a minute. So with those topics being laid out there, the challenges as a business owner, the importance of business owners gathering together, and the resources for business owners, I'd like to pose a question to you all. What is business? You as an owner that are engaged in it every day needs to have a concept and a definition of what business involves. And when we ask this in a live seminar, where we can get live feedback, get all sorts of answers about what business is. Some people say it's about money, and that's true, because we all know there's no fun without profit. But a lot of people will say, well, business is the exchange of a good or service for something else of value, usually money. You can get a very complex definition of what is business. But I'm going to offer a very straight ahead, simple three-word definition for you. Business is simply creating a customer. That's business. You folks are faced with that every day. How do I create a customer? And I didn't make this up. Peter Drucker, arguably the father of American management thinking and literature came up with that probably 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and I don't think it's really changed much. Business is simply creating a customer for your goods and your services, whether they be e-commerce driven, bricks and mortar driven, or a combination of the two. It's creating that customer, and more importantly, a customer that will come back to you again and again and again. So if that's the definition of business, creating a customer, the most important thing that should be on our minds as business owners is who is that customer and how is that customer behaving. And indeed, I'd say that's the biggest challenge facing a small business owner is who's the customer, how are they making decisions, where else are they shopping, how are they feeling about their security and the economy, and how are they going to make decisions about where to spend their disposable income. So that's the question that we're going to look at posed as a challenge to you as a small business owner. Now, I'd remind you all that if anybody wants to send in a question, you just need a Gmail account or a Google account, and my technical assistant, Lamar Weaver, who's sitting here, will monitor the questions and will take them as they come. So feel free to send out any questions that you might have as we go through the presentation. How is business out there? Is business up or is business down? Is it getting better or is it getting worse? One of the things that's a little bit more optimistic right now is that consumer confidence is holding fairly steady, and it's been at its highest point in about 4 years in these past couple months, and holding steady. It's plateaued. People don't feel like things are getting dramatically better as we speak, but the customers are feeling pretty good about things, and that's a real change, because when you think of the things that affect how consumers shop and how they spend money, one of the biggest aspects is whether they have a job or not. If you take a look at this chart, this shows the percent of job losses in every recession since World War II and how long it took for the economy to get the jobs back. The red line down at the bottom is the Great Recession that started arguably in 2008, and it has taken us really 6 years to achieve the same level of jobs that we had back in 2008 before the crash. You can see that all other recessions since World War II ended much more quickly, really with the exception of the 2001 dot-com bust. That took us about 46 months to get the jobs back to where they were, but we're out now at about 74 months, although we have achieved parity now with the number of jobs out there. The thing I'd ask you to keep in mind is that over that course from 2008, those 6 years, the workforce has also increased. So although we're back to the same number of jobs, we've still got a stubbornly high level of unemployment at hovering right about 6.1% right now. But that's one of the main factors affecting how your customer decides whether to shop with you. The other thing that I thought we'd just include here without having too extensive a discussion about things that affect customers' behavior were the rising retail gasoline prices. Almost everybody has felt the effect of gasoline prices going up, although recently, in the last month or so, they've dropped back down considerably. But you can see here that they went up to about $3. The average went up to about $3.60 for a gallon of regular gasoline, and that really impacted the way customers felt about spending money. Now, that's just one factor, rising gasoline prices. If you take a look at this, in March of this year, this is how customers were responding to rising gasoline prices. This is how their behavior was changing. So as a small business owner, as you look at this, what are the opportunities for you? What are the challenges for you as consumers react to economic conditions? And if you look at this chart, you'll see that upwards of 35% of customers were saying they were going to shop closer to home. For some of you, that would be a problem. For others of you, that could be an opportunity. They're taking fewer shopping trips, which means if they can find a commercial district that meets many of their needs, they'll go there and do as much shopping as they can. It also means they might drive to a big box and do all their shopping there. How do you compete with that type of behavior? How do you adjust your operation to that type of behavior? Obviously, we're shopping for sales more often and using coupons more often. So that's a change in behavior. Did you know that before the Great Recession, less than 50% of Americans left their homes with a shopping list? They were into leisure shopping, impulse shopping. Since the Great Recession, upwards of 80% of Americans leave their homes with a shopping list. That cuts down on impulse buys. That's a challenge for you and your salespersons when you're doing selling, when you're doing signage, when you're running promotions. Something to keep in mind. Buying more brand and generic products, doing more comparative shopping online, and shopping more online. This is a phenomenon that's here to stay, folks, and it's a real challenge. It's a challenge for our bricks and mortar merchants, but it's an opportunity for our e-commerce merchants. Very complex dynamic going on there. We've got questions of sales tax with the Fair Market Trade Act in front of the federal government right now, but we also have online merchants opening bricks and mortar, and we have bricks and mortar merchants finding paths to do more business online. So it works both ways. You can see that some folks are putting off auto maintenance, doing more comparative shopping, and taking public transportation more. One of the things that I can reference there is look at the funding that's just coming online for our big transit-oriented development projects, the Purple Line, the Red Line, the development along the Green Line. In fact, Branch Avenue in Bloom came to be around the concept of the Naylor Road Metro stop and transit-oriented development. So all these things were affected. The use of these aspects of shopping and personal behavior were affected simply by rising gasoline prices. The other factor that's not going away, that's affecting consumer behavior, is the rise in e-commerce retail sales. The interesting thing to note here, although this is the 2012 chart, is that holiday sales for e-commerce spikes dramatically. The important thing to notice is that between holidays, there's a gradually increasing rise in e-commerce shopping. In fact, last year, sales at brick and mortar rose about 3%. Sales on e-commerce rose about 14%. So it's a changing customer behavior we all have to be aware of. And in holiday 2013, which is not on this chart, the holiday peak actually went off this chart at more than $80 billion in e-commerce for holiday season. Something we all have to be aware of. So as a small business owner who's in their shop or sitting at their keyboard, the things they have to think about is that the U.S. economy and the changes in the economy are affecting behavior broad base. Almost 50% of American families say they're going to spend less overall. 40% say they're going to shop for sales more often. 38% say they're going to use coupons more often. And here's something that's really interesting. Although the restaurant business has the most consistent level of growth, people are saying they'll dine out less frequently. And while they're saying that, fast casual, convenient dining out at a good value price point is a segment that's growing the most quickly. So a lot of behaviors there to take a look at. And it's the changing consumer behavior that is the challenge for our small merchant. The National Retail Federation annual conference in January of this year picked the trends. Take a look at your business. Think about your customers. Think about your number of transactions, the average dollar amount of your transaction, and think if you've seen changes that come into line with this. Thriftiness is the new high. Rather than talking about how great the product was that they purchased, they talk about what a great value it was and what a great deal they got. Customers are also coming in more prepared. Even if they're shopping bricks and mortar, they'll walk through the door. They may have done more research and know more about your product or service than your salesperson does. Think about the ramification for you as a business owner. Are your people that are answering the phone, well educated about your product and service? Do they know your pricing? Do they know quality control? Do they know the standards of performance of your products? Do they know exactly how your service is delivered? The customers, over 90% of American customers now, in any age group, do research on the web before making any decision about making a purchase. The store becomes a showroom for online retailers. Given the advent of mobile apps, the widespread use of smartphones, a customer can walk into your store, use an app, and compare prices about your product or service within a 5-mile radius while he or she is standing in your store. That's a real training implication for how your staff approaches customers, how they interact with customers, and in fact, how they may use technology right there on the floor to interact with your customer. There are generational divides within the labor force. And what we mean by that is that the millennials and the Ys and Generation Y, tend to sell differently, tend to make decisions differently, tend to expect a different level of service, a different level of interaction than the older baby boomer customer. A truly well-run business recognizes the fact that over the generations there are real differences in how people make decisions, the level of service they expect, and how they expect to be treated. A well-trained salesperson, whatever their age, will be able to shift gears and interact with your customer. Customers come in with blinders on because they've done that research, meaning that they've researched the product, they'll step into your store, they'll know exactly what they want, and it'll be more difficult to upsell or add on sell with those people. Amazon. We do a seminar called Doing Business in the World of GAFA. GAFA is Google, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon. The playing field has been changed forever, and the successful merchants will be the ones that know how to create a balance between bricks and mortar and online e-commerce to satisfy their customers. A lot of larger businesses are stalking customers with big data. How many times have you logged on to do a search, and then for the next 6 weeks you get a pop-up on a pair of athletic shoes on your laptop or even on your mobile device, even though you purchased those athletic shoes 6 months ago? Big data is a real concern for a lot of Americans, and in fact, a lot of our smaller independent merchants are even creating pushback with saying, please shop with us. We won't collect personal data. We may want your email address, or we may want you to like us on Facebook, but we don't want you to give us your personal data, and we won't collect personal data on your purchases. That's actually a valid sales technique for a lot of our smaller independent businesses. Products will find their way to customers in unconventional places. It's incredible with technology now about how customers can find product in the most unexpected place. You can come up the escalator on the metro system, be faced with a billboard or a lit sign, LED sign right there on the platform, use your smartphone, research a product, and purchase it while you're standing there and pay for it. Pretty amazing stuff going on. Those are the challenges. So with all these challenges that face you as a small business owner, what are some of the ways to deal with it? Obviously, there's your operational metrics, the way you run your business, the way you communicate with your customers, the product and services you offer, the price points you offer. All those things come in to your independent reason for being as a business, and in fact will determine whether you're successful or not. But one of the aspects of being a merchant that you might not have thought about is that you can leverage your customers, leverage your power in your community, leverage your power with local elected officials and governmental bodies by joining into a merchants association. One of the things that we've done at Branch Avenue, and that's really Jennifer Funn, the director of Branch Avenue, the program manager, and her able staff that includes my technical assistant here today, Lamar Weaver, and Luana Benzamore, who really helps Jennifer with a lot of the administration of the program and grant writing and funding. One of the things that we've modeled Branch Avenue after is the National Trust Main Street program. Maryland has 23 official main streets. The city of Baltimore has about 10. And the reason for those main streets is that there is power in merchants formally organizing together, forming committees, agreeing on decisions, and reaching out to a customer base as an organized commercial district. In this day and age, with all the challenges we've seen, the technological challenges, the big box challenges, it's very difficult for an independent merchant to truly stand alone in a commercial district and be a true destination. Obviously, there's some businesses that do it and do it very well. I'd call Sam's Car Wash a destination business. It's been there for 50 years, has a long track record, and does a lot of things differently. But even Nick and Joe see the value in joining together with other merchants. An official merchants association, apart from whether a community is a main street or not, can have a lot of power. It gives you as a merchant a voice with your fellow merchants. It gives you a voice with the citizens of the community who happen to be your customers. By joining together, banding together as a group of merchants, there are many ways to reach customers. We'll talk about those in just a minute. But it also gives the merchants, as a business association, a voice with local government. Branch Avenue in Bloom owes a lot of its success to Suitland and Temple Hills neighborhood organizations, civic organizations, organizations of neighbors who band together and volunteer. And local government looks at those folks as literally the constituents, the people they are there to serve. When an individual makes a comment, tries to push a platform, or even makes a complaint, one individual doesn't have the strength that a group of individuals have, especially an organized group. And that's one big advantage to joining into a merchants association. You definitely would have a stronger voice with the police department and fire and safety and public works. When a group says we need more patrols, when a group says we want to upgrade our fire protection standards, when a group says we'd like to start a community garden, local government, police, fire, public works listens. There's power in joining together. And certainly when we use the word constituents, your elected officials and politicians react to constituents, those people that can vote. If a merchants association, a neighborhood association has an issue that depends on public policy, politicians, elected officials, and the local government will work together to try to meet those concerns. And one thing not to neglect by any means in this day and age of marketing, and I know many of our small businesses are concerned with marketing, we'll talk about that in a minute as well, access to the media is much more possible with a group of merchants who are running a promotion, having a special event, raising an agenda item with local government elected officials. If spokespeople for the Merchants Association approaches the media, there's a much bigger chance of getting media play as a group of organized merchants. So a Merchants Association, whether it be self-organized, like the ones in Leonardtown, Maryland, or whether it be an official main street that's organized, as are our main streets, all those groups have more power with citizens. They become part of the community. They're recognized as part of the community. That gives you leverage with your local residential customers. It gives you leverage with your local government, your police and fire officials, your politicians, and with the local media. So a merchants association is something every one of you should be thinking about. And the purpose is really to generate more customers for every member of the merchants association. And with an organized merchants association that has leverage with politicians, public works, economic development, it gives you leverage and it gives you power in trying to attract new businesses to your commercial shopping district. One of the greatest challenges of being an independent business is finding oneself in a commercial district that has what we call an appropriate tenant mix. As a merchants association, you can target types of businesses that you'd like to attract. You can work with your property owners. You can work with the property managers and try to concertedly go out and attract and recruit new businesses, as well as work together for programs to retain the existing businesses. Really creating a commercial district that really resonates with the community is one of the great advantages. One of the trends that we're seeing across America right now is this movement to community economy. 85% of Americans say, well, we understand the power of e-commerce, but as individual members of our community, we like to shop with people we know. We like to shop with local business owners. And 85% of people saying shopping local makes them feel better. A shopping local oriented merchants association has that ability. And when you think about marketing, think about the expense and the difficulty of marketing as an individual business. A merchants association on Branch Avenue to complement the neighborhood volunteer associations would be a great marketing venue for the members of the merchants association. You market, you can leverage marketing dollars and cut individual marketing expense for frequency and impact in your market. And one great advantage of being in a merchant association, using some of the social platforms that are out there, is that in a merchants association, like merchants can choose to partner with other merchants who serve the same customer segment and leverage their social media bases. There's a new program out there called alignable.com that allows merchants to partner with other merchants and expand their customer base. So if there's a group of merchants who say, we share the same customer with the same taste level, they own their homes, they rent their homes, they have a certain income level, their families or they're empty nesters, anyone that shares the same customer definition can leverage their social media lists with Alignable. So that if you have 500 customers and your neighbor has 700 customers and someone else has 300 customers, and those three merchants partner together as a group using alignable.com, now they can share social media impact with 1,500 customers each. Alignable has done the research through Constant Contact, and they've determined that even businesses on the same street only share 2% of the total customer base. Think of the power of merchants banding together to share the entire residential customer base and the leverage that would get you as a merchant. So beyond having power as a organized group of business owners who are also voters and who drive economic activity in a community, think about the power of a group of business owners sharing customers on social media and impacting the leverage of social media posts. That also is a seminar in itself, but we're trying to hit some high points today about the advantages of being in a group. If Branch Avenue were to form a business association, leaders would have to come together, business leaders would have to come together and formulate a clear description of what the purpose of that business association would be, what their priorities would be, and, as corny as it sounds, they would need a vision and a mission statement and concrete goals. Think about you as an individual merchant. What are the things in your community that are affecting your ability to do business? Is it traffic, stoplights, signage, cleanliness, safety, any of those abilities, any of those characteristics that are necessary to attract customers to you? Could they be improved? Could there be streetscaping? Could the environment be made more attractive? Should those merchants gather together for more community events? I think probably the stellar impact of what organization can do is Branch Avenue and Bloom's success with the Branch Avenue's Farmers Market held in Iverson Mall on Saturdays. Volunteers came together, a voluntary organization came together, People stepped up to volunteer to participate. Neighborhood associations contacted their memberships for attendance at the farmers market, and you have a great example of an ongoing event that's really driven by a group of merchants and an association rather than an independent merchant. That vision for the Merchants Association could be for the merchants to reach their communities, reach their customers, and interact with their local government to create a fully integrated, safe, technologically sophisticated, marketing-oriented commercial district. That could be the vision. The mission could be to do it in such a way that customers who visit the Branch Avenue Commercial District and participate in the special events receive personal attention, high quality service, and high quality goods and services. And the goals could be specific, again, relating to marketing, streetscaping, improvement of the commercial district, more outreach to residential customers. The business association could take any one of a number of forms, and in fact it could be informal or it could be formal. Actually, more power is usually generated from formal business associations, because there you would actually have a board, you would have dues-paying members, you would have a bit of a budget, you would have identified spokesmen, you would have identified committees to achieve certain goals. But the most common form of a merchants association is a 501c6, which is an official limited liability nonprofit. The merchants would join together, elect officers, pay small dues perhaps. The association would have limited liability, and it would be tax exempt. A great benefit of joining together like this is they're able to receive grants. And it becomes really a formal business entity in itself. But the ability to receive funding and generate funding in a nonprofit situation has many, many powerful dimensions to it. In some of our main streets, the Merchants Association that comprises the main street has applied for community development block grants and used that funding, primarily from the Department of Housing and Community Development in the state of Maryland, used the ability to submit and receive community development block grants to create their own revolving loan fund, or that they would lend to member merchants at a below market interest rate. That loan would be paid back with interest, and the loan fund grows, and it's a great avenue for alternative capitalization for the merchants in the Merchants Association. Some of our Merchants Associations in main streets have also used funding to create facade improvement grants to really allow a merchant and or a property owner to improve the facade of their building and create a business with more curb appeal and to become more attractive in an overall setting of an attractive commercial shopping district that is known as an entity. So the whole aspect of a business association takes on a more formal component when you formally join together, make a resolution, form a 501c6, elect officers, create a small budget, and really go after the vision and the mission with a clear set of goals and an opportunity to get funding. And the organization chart, as I said, for a 501c6 would really take on the complexion of a formal business entity with officers, with certain committees. Jennifer Fund has done a brilliant job at Branch Avenue and Bloom by forming an organization committee, a design committee, an economic restructuring committee, and a promotion committee. Those volunteers join in their committees to create visible changes. I'm sure you've all noticed some of the streetscaping and visual improvements on Branch Avenue, and I'm sure some of you have been to some of the special events. The back to school meeting was a phenomenal success. That was an example of merchants signing up, stepping up informally, and saying, we're going to help our community get great deals in a special event to get their kids back to school. That's a great event that has community impact and business impact. Regular meetings would keep merchants on on the same page concerning issues and items to be addressed as an organized group, and certainly a promotion committee would allow for an expansion of events in the commercial shopping corridor. I'd like to just offer a model that Branch Avenue has used. It's called co-opetition, and that's where individual businesses realize the advantage of joining together as a group and going after the same customer base. Yes, that's even with your competitors and with your complementary businesses. The idea here is that Americans have always understood that as you raise the water for the community, you lift all ships. And co-opetition is really used to say, let's join together as business owners, grow our pool of customers, service our pool of customers better, and create more economic traffic and activity. And co-opetition extends beyond. This is the genius of Branch Avenue in Bloom. Municipal government participates, Councilwoman Tolles participates, your council delegates, your state delegates, and your federal delegates. Donna Edwards is a big presence in Branch Avenue. Public Works get together. You've probably heard about the community garden that's in the works out behind the McDonald's there on Branch Avenue. That's a cutting-edge program done in cooperation with National Capital Park and Planning, Prince George's County, the Public Works there, the police department there, and there are organizations now all over the country actually looking at what's going on Branch Avenue with some of the cutting-edge programs. Media attention has been focused. The television stations have been covering this. They cover the farmers market. They cover the community gardens. Chamber of Commerce, Prince George's County Chamber of Commerce has 900 members and is a big force. And then in comes the civic and business associations. Branch Avenue in Bloom has just gone light years in the 4 years it's been in existence. And the civic associations and the co-opetition among the governments and the departments of the governments and the media have all contributed to success. A strong piece that's missing that could really take it to the next level is a Branch Avenue Merchants Association. And Branch Avenue has had a great deal of opportunity in accessing resources for small businesses. Branch Avenue in Bloom runs a TANF program to train individuals who are in public assistance to become entrepreneurs, create business plans, and seek funding for their own businesses. When you look at all this, and when you look at everything that's going on in the world of business today, one of the interesting statistics is from the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, which all you folks are self-reliant, that increasing revenue has been reported from 2010 through 2012, and the Institute for Local Self-Reliance just came out with their 2013 report, and it's basically 54% of the businesses in 2010 said they saw an increase in revenue, up to 65% of our independently owned businesses reporting revenue growth in 2012, and I believe the number is somewhere around 68% of businesses in 2013 that were independently owned saw an increase in revenue. This is part of that trend of people looking to community economies for a place to really be that third place, a commercial shopping district where they know the business owners, where they feel comfortable going, where they like doing business and spending money. And that goes to the buy local phenomena. If independent businesses are seeing an increase in revenue, independent businesses that merge together and create formal buy local campaigns using an association that does marketing, that reaches out through the neighborhood volunteer association groups to the community customers, see a greater increase in revenue. And in fact, if you look at these numbers from the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, you'll see that the businesses that are involved in buy local campaigns with other businesses who market the importance of buying local increase their revenues 2 to 3 times as much as businesses that try to go it alone. That's a reason right there to consider a merchants association who will form and foster a buy local program that will pervade throughout Marlow Heights, Capitol Heights, Temple Hills, Suitland, and the whole Branch Avenue corridor southeast of the district. Could really make a powerful difference in our small businesses there. It takes organization, focus, and creativity on the part of the businesses. To sum up, we'd like to talk about some of the resources that are available to you as an individual small business. One of the best ones is the Branch Avenue and Bloom program that has been in Branch Avenue for 4 years. It's located right on Branch Avenue in the shopping center just adjacent to Sam's Car Wash. There's an office there. That office fosters organization among businesses. It fosters communication and interaction between businesses and the residential neighborhood property associations and businesses. It fosters interaction between businesses and citizens and associations and their municipal government and the Prince George's County government. It's a great resource for small business. And Branch Avenue and Bloom is a program of the Small Business Development Center at the University of Maryland. And right now, we'd like every small business out there to know that the Small Business Development Center does basically 2 things for small businesses: low-cost training and no-cost, that could also translate to free, confidential business counseling for any small business owner, or indeed for any entrepreneur that's thinking of starting a small business. The SBDC is a nationwide program. Every state's got one. Small Business Administration dollars come into every state, and then those dollars are matched by economic development money, Department of Business and Economic Development, the state of Maryland's general fund, county economic development, and those funds are used to provide low-cost training, but more importantly, no-cost confidential counseling to any small business. And when I say confidential, we mean just that. If a small business approaches Branch Avenue and Bloom for contact with the Small Business Development Center, the counseling there is all confidential. No one will know the name of your business. No one will know your name. You can talk about any aspect of your business with the counselor, from marketing to operations to capitalization to finances to taxes, and you may be secure knowing that that information remains confidential, and no stakeholder or no funder will learn your name unless you give permission. Fortunately, we have lots of success stories, and we use a lot of our clients at the Small Business Development Center in the media and on our social networks to spread the word about Branch Avenue and Bloom and the Small Business Development Center. But be aware that's one of your major resources for every operational aspect of your business, from capitalization to operations to marketing. And capitalization is often a big topic of concern for small business owners. How do I get capitalized? How do I get a line of credit? How do I keep my business healthy? And there are lots of resources out there for capitalization. The Economic Development Group, the ECDC, the Washington Community Investment Fund, Washington Area Community Investment Fund, lends to small businesses, Maryland Capital Enterprises. One of the products, of course, that you might expect from the SBDC is guidance toward SBA funding. And of course, now with the casinos opening throughout Maryland, one of which, a major one, will open right in Prince George's County within about 18 months or so, Volt funding is available for small businesses. So there are an array of small business resources that are available to you folks as small business owners. Branch Avenue and Bloom is one place to check. The other places to check at our website, which is www.mdsbdc.org, and follow our website to find the counselor or the location closest to you. We have had a couple of questions come in that I'm going to address real quick, and one was, How do you feel about lending? And do you think lending has eased up a little bit? Well, after the crisis that we've just had, folks, um, lending is still tough in that banks found themselves pretty strictly regulated after the meltdown in 2008. But there has been an uptick in lending to small businesses, and we also have the alternative capitalization resources that still should be on your screen. But what I would say to you as a small business owner is that in order to access lending from any resource, whether it's commercial, whether it's SBA commercial lending, whether it's alternative loan funds like you see here, whether it's neighborhood business works from the Department of Housing and Community Development, or if you're looking for funding from investors or even family and friends, you need a solid business plan, a complete set of financial statements, which would include sources and uses, a balance sheet, projected balance sheet, or if you're an existing business, your existing balance sheet and your P&L, and a cash flow statement and projection. Those are all things that the Small Business Development Center, through the office at Branch Avenue and Bloom, can assist you with, again, no cost and confidentially. And I'd also point out that our partners at Prince George's County Economic Development have resources available as well. An alternative source of funding is Shelley Gross Raid's Financial Services Corporation of Prince George's County. They make alternative loans. So I guess the bottom line answer to that question is lending has been getting a little better. Banks and lenders are regulated. So the best approach for a small business owner who's seeking lending or investment is to really get your financials together, have a small business plan. If you're an existing business, it doesn't have to be extensive. It just has to be complete and straightforward. And those are the documents that you'll need to access funding. Again, that's what the SBDC is here to help you do at no cost. Lamar's looking at the screen. Let's see if we have anything else. Oh, here's a question about that new casino, the MGM casino that's going to open up. A couple of people online have evidently approached MGM about providing services through, I believe, a couple of the special events that have been held. And what I would say there is that keep your eyes open for MGM events, but if you do go to approach procurement officers there, be sure that you're prepared in the same manner that we just spoke about. And someone had a question about transit-oriented development. This person, I don't think, is a small bricks and mortar business, but is a contractor. They're asking about how to participate in the Purple Line and some of the construction done around transit-oriented development. And what I would say there is that the SBDC also hosts the Procurement Technical Assistance Program, PTAP. You can also access that through our website or through the Branch Avenue and Bloom office. PTAP exists to help small businesses that are in construction or services, maintenance, landscaping, janitorial, assess state, county, and even federal contracting, Procurement Technical Assistance Program. And I would just add in there that if you are a small minority-owned business and you're thinking about accessing construction set-asides, meaning that federal, state, and county governments have quotas for contracting and government procurement going to small minority-owned businesses, certification is not a requirement, but really gives you a leg up in the contracting bidding process, and that would be 8A certification, SDB certification, which is small disadvantaged business certification, or minority business organization, MBE, minority business enterprise certification, information which you can get through the Branch Avenue in Bloom program. And Prince George's County has a Prince George's County community business certification, which means that Prince George's County is always seeking opportunities to do business with Prince George's County-based businesses. So again, information that can be accessed through Branch Avenue in Bloom. One more question, and that is about a merchants association. One business owner asks, what does he or she, don't know if it's he or she, have to give up if they join a business association? And I would say there you really don't have to give up anything. You can still do your individual marketing and your individual customer relationship management. You can still, and you must differentiate your business in the marketplace. But by joining a merchants association, you'd find that you'd really be able to leverage your independent business through the power of a group for all those reasons we enumerated a few minutes ago. And that is by using the force and the power of an organization, of a group of voices unifying into a single voice with power, with public policy makers, public works, local governments, government departments, and indeed your elected officials. So I don't think you give up anything by joining a merchants association, a business association. I think you still are able to operate as an independent, but you leverage all your differentiating factors and your marketing and your budgets and your voice by joining in with other merchants. And the best thing that could happen would be that that merchant association joins together in programs that makes Branch Avenue even a better commercial shopping district and more effective in reaching the local residential customer. And in fact, if you do it well enough, and if you are successful as a group in recruiting and retaining businesses, you do it well enough so that people will travel out of market to visit you and see what you and your association and your fellow businesses have going on. And a lot of that's done by event-driven activities that usually can only be carried off by a merchants association. Well, I think, Lamar, those are the basic questions that kind of cover the whole gamut there that folks have asked. If you're sitting there with a question and you haven't really had the gumption to type it in, or you don't have a Gmail account, feel free to contact your Branch Avenue in Bloom office. Please check out branchavenueinbloom.org on the web or their Facebook page and see the services that you can access. Branch Avenue in Bloom, the Small Business Development Center, Prince George's County government are all about making sure that our small business owners stay healthy, be successful, employ people, pay taxes, and contribute to the economic success of Prince George's County, Branch Avenue in Bloom, and the state of Maryland. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We hope you got some value out of this. Please contact Branch Avenue in Bloom with feedback. I know many of you got emails with the contact information, or check branchavenueinbloom.org. Let us know what you think. We chose this platform today because it was simple, inexpensive, and allowed widespread access. But if you have suggestions for a better platform, whether it's GoToWebinar, GoToMeeting, whether you'd like to see this format again, whether we should try for interactive video, Branch Avenue in Bloom is here to serve the merchants and the citizens of the Branch Avenue corridor. And once again, we thank you for being with us today. Please give Branch Avenue in Bloom some feedback. Thanks very much.